one and all once again, and a very happy Women's Day to all the women's on board. And yeah, today we have all gathered to commemorate the International Women's Day, which brings both happy and bad news to me. Happy because we get to see women achievers like Madam, like Mahalakshmi Pavani Madam, who have achieved a lot in their life, overcome, I bet, a lot of difficulties, and reached where she is right now. So it is time to celebrate such achievers as well. But of course, I feel sad because we have half the section of our country women who are, or maybe even more than half, who are still, oppressed and dominated, discriminated. And I think we should do our part in bringing them all up. That is also one of the aims and the necessity of celebrating this day. Madam, I would like to give a brief introduction about you. It runs in pages. I made it a small, into points. So Madam Mahalakshmi Pavani Madam has done her BAL, MA, LLB, LLM. She is a senior advocate from the Supreme Court of India. Once again, welcome to you, ma'am, and very glad that you could take your time off and address our students and our faculty. Very glad to have you here, ma'am. So Madam has enrolled with, Madam, by the way, I'm also from Karnataka. I'm from Bangalore. So very happy to introduce you once again. Yeah, so Madam has enrolled into the Bar Council of Karnataka in 1992. In 1993, she was in the Standing Council in the Criminal Court, Mayo Hall. 1998, Madam joined late Shri P.P. Rao, who's a very senior advocate and also her father-in-law. Sorry, ma'am. Yeah. And in 2005, Madam stood third in Advocate on Record exams conducted by Supreme Court. That's a big achievement. And in 2014, Madam was elected President, Supreme Court Women Lawyers Association, and she continues to hold the post till date. And I bet during this tenure, she had to, she also handled the advocates of Nirbhaya case. And I have read a lot about you, Madam, that you took them to task. And yeah, it shows that even educated men can speak so derogatorily about women. So you did a great job, and I bet you will continue to do it. Thank you so much, ma'am. And in 2015, Madam was designated as Senior Advocate by Supreme Court of India, which is again not a joke. You need a lot of, you need to be very competent, very efficient, and a lot of experience is needed to reach that post. And over the years, Madam has fought a lot of cases in all types of cases, and has fought cases for various prominent personalities like Sonia Gandhi, Rahul Gandhi, Kumaraswamy, even our late Jayalalitha Madam, and ministers on a number of matters. In the Supreme Court. Madam is also Vice Chairman of Legal Cell, Supreme Court. In 2019, Madam edited a book titled Parameshwara to PP in fond memory of her late father-in-law. Very great achievement as well. And to top all this, Madam has won a lot of awards, of which a few are National Law Day Award in 2016, Mahila Shakti Shiromani Award, Sampark for Samarthan in 2018, Empathy in 2019. Empathy, I was wondering what it is. I Googled a bit and found out that it is empowering people against hepatitis. So it is a bit close to our heart, I mean the doctors' hearts. A great job there once again, ma'am. Thanks to you. And we welcome you once again, ma'am. We're all eagerly waiting for your address. Thank you so much, ma'am. Good day.
Thank you, Dr. The Vice Chancellor, T. Balasubramaniam, Dr. Anuradha, Dr. Vijay Lakshmi, Dr. Sai Lalita, all the team of Chettinad Academy, professors. I thank you all for giving me an opportunity to address you on this auspicious day called International Women's Day. And I also feel blessed to be addressing you doctors, because I consider you as demigods. You are like the real gods, the saviors of the millions of people who suffered from the pandemic. put everything aside. You all rose to the occasion. You all were there on night call duty, day duty, everything. You all have done tremendous yeoman service and risking your lives. Maybe the whole world had shut down, but you all were there. It was your calling, it was your duty, your dedication and yeoman service, which I salute. And I also take this opportunity on behalf of the advocate fraternity, the Supreme Court Bar Association and the Supreme Court Women Lawyers Association, of whom I'm a member and the president, to thank all the doctors of this country for rendering, the spirit of selflessness and duty, and taking the pandemic to the next level and protecting all its citizens to a great, great extent. Apart from this, doctors, I would also like to say that this pandemic has also brought in another aspect. The young professors, the young students of the medicines, the final year students, they also rose to the occasion. They also rose to the occasion, and they also shouldered the responsibility with the dedication and dignity, and they put service before self. And to start their careers, or being at the cusp of their careers, or the threshold of their professional journey as doctors, I think it was a blessing in disguise for them to have started their journey with this dedicated service to all humanity. So this is what I have to say. Now I want to say your topic for today is achieving an equal future in a COVID-19 world. Is it a myth or reality? Well, friends, I must tell you all that I don't know whether it is whether my answer is going to make many students log out, because of the fact that I'm not going to paint a rosy picture out here. I am only going to give you and highlight the grim situation, the reality of the COVID-19. Forget equal future in COVID-19 or post-COVID-19. Even before COVID-19, there was not an equal future for all women. And let me tell you, it is not equal future for, I don't believe in gender equality. I believe in gender justice. Why do I say that? Because even the Creator, our God above, He created man and women, the male gender and the female gender. But now, He has made disparity. The man is more physically stronger, but there are so many, differences in the physical makeup, mental makeup, religious makeup, sociological makeup, ideological makeup between a man and a woman. And there is also another gender. It is just not the male and female gender that we talk about today. We talk about the third gender, courtesy this Honorable Supreme Court in 2014 have brought the LGBT community and created the third gender. So they also need to be respected. Now, in this COVID-19 situation, what happened? I mean, the world literally came to a lockdown. The world came to a crippling halt. It was brought grinding to its knees. I mean, everything was in a dilemma. Nobody knew how to handle this situation and things like that. I mean, even advanced countries didn't know how to handle the situation, leave alone India. But India brought down the lockdown, and it was only because of you doctors, the corona warriors, and the healthline front workers who were at the front line of their jobs were able to give this a quietus, were able to put the government back on track, to bring some sanity into everything. If it was not for you, I don't think the government would have achieved its goal. Given the fact that the lockdown was imposed, everything in this country came to a standstill. Nobody could have envisaged a situation where the country would have come to a virtual halt. What the country, the world coming to halt, nobody could have imagined. The pandemic was at its worst, and just imagine a small virus was the cause of all this. So literally when everything shut, everything started to online and virtual. And with the shutting of this, with the sudden lockdown imposed by the government, what happened? We saw numerous migrant laborers. I mean, constructions, houses being shut down, industries being shut down, offices being shut down, schools. I mean, everything was shut down. And we saw graphic images, I mean, heart-rending images on social media, WhatsApp messages saying that, look, here we saw women carrying their children, carrying their pots, there are bleeding feet. And another I mean, a gripping photograph and a story of a young girl, a 15-year-old girl who cycled all the way from Darbhanga, Gurgaon to Darbhanga in Bihar. She traveled 1,200 kilometers in a span of 8 days, and she wanted her father to reach the mother who was looking. She was an Anganwadi worker with 4 children. And her father was double the weight, but it still reinforced the grit, the determination that the woman can rise up to if pushed to the corner. It is not, women are maybe physically weak or what, but even this physical weakness was overcome by her mental strength. She cycled. So that was woman empowerment for me. It brought out that women can face all odds and anything to survive and to show they are strong. Now, but when we say that is this achieving an equal future in COVID-19, I must really honestly disappoint you all, because I don't see this happening in my lifetime. I don't know whether it will happen in my children's lifetime. And I say this for so many reasons, because there are a whole lot of reasons. Even this COVID, if you take the COVID time, you can see that there was a technological barricade. The 80%, 70% of India lives in the rural side. So most of them do not have Wi-Fi, they do not have electricity, they don't have basics, they don't have a Wi-Fi connectivity, they don't have smartphones, laptops, nothing. They are even short of a small dignified meal. They are the children of landless laborers. And the poverty is written rife in this country. I mean, it is everywhere. So, and because of which many children had to drop out of schools. The schools had to shut down, the government schools. Now, let me tell you, it is a fundamental right under the Constitution for education up to the age of 14 for any child in this country. But because of this lockdown, the schools shut. And ultimately, the children had to drop out of school. So the fundamental right is defeated because the government could not stand up to deliver or even bring these basic amenities like electricity to the remotest village in the country. Apart from that, I must also share that there were some students who committed suicide. There was a story of this young girl from Hyderabad, a topper, who committed suicide. Why? Because her auto rickshaw driver father could not afford her laptop. And the saddest part was she was a state topper. So this is the state of affairs. Now, please tell me, if there is an economic disparity and a big bridge, there is a big gap, there is a big divide between the rich and the poor in the country, can we survive? No, it is very, very difficult for survival. And apart from all this, the lockdown was forced on all of us. So literally everything virtually came to a standstill. So, and there are so many people, poor people who live in slums, in shanties, in one-room tenements, and without place. So they were forced to live there with their alcoholic husbands or with their frustrated husbands who were thrown out of their jobs. Because if you see, most women in India are housewives. It's only the 10% of the top people, the people who have education, everything as a means of empowerment, of financial independence, who have these facilities. But just look at it from the larger perspective. There are so many women, and because of which there were so many cases of suicide. There were mental health issues. The lifelines were flooded. I mean, there were more than the phone calls trebled by 100%. Because of the domestic violence. And apart from that, they were subjected to harassment. They had to cook 3 times. There were no Swiggies, or I'm not only talking about the rural urban, but I'm also talking about the lower urban middle class or the urban upper class who were so, who were so relying on food from cafes or outlets like McDonald's and things like that. So with virtual shutdown of all that, they didn't even have their me time. Previously, when the husband and the children would go to school for 10 minutes for the day, they would have their me time exclusively for themselves, where they could look after themselves and do what they want, maybe for another 2 hours or 3 hours. But with the virtual shutdown, even that was stopped. That was totally stopped. Why? Because they had in-laws, they had their husbands, their children, they had to continuously work on the meals, cook, and have these online classes. So it was literally very frustrating for every woman. And sometimes the man, he would take out his frustration on the lady of the house. He would beat her up. So the domestic cases spiraled up, in fact. So it was a very short, very sad story that things were, were going out of control. It resulted in a lot of suicides. And apart from that, it resulted in a lot of teenage pregnancies, a lot of teenage deaths, unwanted pregnancies, because the man had nothing to do. He would force himself on the girl. So on his wife, see, because there are so many things a woman has to undergo. And but these are examples that I am giving you, see. And apart from all this, to achieving equal justice, equal gender, I believe in gender justice, not equality, because we are physically not as strong as the men. But we can't even achieve gender justice. Why do I say that? I say that because of various factors. The first and foremost, the feudal, the patriarchal, and the misogynistic mindset of a man. A man always thinks that he is the upper, he's the stronger man, and the woman is portrayed as a weaker sex, as an oppressed sex. Whatever he says, she has to listen. And if he doesn't listen, she doesn't listen to him. He tries to, get physical with her. And let me tell you, doctors, it is just not, the patriarchal mindset is just not limited to the uneducated. It is there in the mindsets of educated men. It's there, if you can see it in from the panchayat level to the chief justice level to the prime minister level. The men, they have this trace of patriarchal norms in them. They have that, the upper thing. Let me tell you, men of today have this, but if you go back to history, mythological era, the Vedas, the Ramayana, Mahabharata, even there the gods speak of parity, they speak of gender justice. If you take the names of gods, you have Lakshmi and Narayan, you have Janaki and Ram, Sita, Ram, Radha, Krishna. So what does it reflect? It reflects parity. But today, that is also missing. The men, if a woman goes out to work, oh, she is very, she's not a nice lady. There are so many things that a woman has to bear. She has to, and there is sexism all over. There is sexism in your hospitals, in your colleges, in my Supreme Court. It is prevalent everywhere. So how do we change all this? This all changes only with the mindset. So, but mindset, how do we change the mindset? Mindset to change, we have to educate. Educate means educate the men, not only the men, the women have to be educated first. It is the mother who has to bring a sense of parity in her children. She should not portray the son as a strong man and as a girl, as a weaker sex. She should not say, "Are," if the boy cries, she should not say, "Are beta, ladki ke jaisa mat." So, these things have to go out. These notions have to go out. There has to be a complete revamp. So, with the revamp of all this, probably mindsets may change, and it is going to take a lot of time. Apart from this, if you see even judges sometimes, in judgments, they come out with obnoxious suggestions. Like there was this judge of the Madhya Pradesh High Court who in fact suggested to the rape victim to tie a rakhi to the accused. How could he even do that? Here is a girl who's fighting for justice. She wants her perpetrator to be booked. She wants him to be punished. And this kind of a suggestion coming out from the judge's mouth, it's not completely palatable to me. It isn't. It really isn't. It smacks of that misogynistic mindset. So, and when I say sexism, I have been a victim of sexist remarks. If I get an order or something like that, they say, "Oh, your smile is sufficient. You are beautiful. That is sufficient." Nobody looks at my mental capacity to deliver, to stand up and argue my case. No. So these kinds of mindsets have to be erased. It should go. It should not think. And Another thing which I would like to highlight here is education. When I say education, I would also like to take the Prime Minister's initiative. In 2014, when the Modi government came, he gave a lot of slogans. So one of his favorite slogans was Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao. But in my utmost humility at my command, and I must tell or people who's watching me, I would only request the Honorable Prime Minister of this country to please change that slogan from Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao to Beti Padhao, Beti Padhao. Because when you say Beti Bachao, what does it signify? What is the message that is sent across the globe? He's a global leader. If the message that is sent is Beti Bachao, means it is trying to say that the women in our country needs protection from the womb to the tomb. This is unfair. Why? And who is he asking us to seek protection? He is asking us to be protected by the men in our life, the father, son, husbands, grandfathers, whatever. And who are we seeking protection from? We are seeking protection from the men, from against men. So if you say Beti Padhao, Beti Padhao, the message is loud and clear. What does it indicate? It indicates that the Prime Minister of this country is giving a mandate to all the men to educate their children, to make their daughters stand on her feet. It is a sense of Shashaktikaran, a sense of empowerment. You are giving that woman an identity. You are giving that woman a platform to stand up and say, yes, I am equal. I am battling everything with you in spirit, in letter, mentally. I am standing at par with you. It gives a sense of financial independence. When the woman is educated, she's being encouraged by her peers, her family members, her relatives. It gives a totally different sign. So the message goes that our women do not need protection. It sends out a powerful message that India's women are strong. They are strong enough to lead. They are strong enough to do everything in their lives. So that is one thing which I would like to say. Apart from that, I would also like to tell you that when I talk about mindsets, I just told you about some judges with this patriarchal mindset. But here I would also like to tell you that there are judgments which have, the judiciary has paid a lot of judgments and made it, gender neutral, or probably given women more power to stand up against the men. So this road towards gender equality has been laid down by a lot of judicial pronouncements. And the first landmark glass-breaking judgment was rendered by Lordship Justice Chandrachud and Ajay Rastogi in Ministry of Defense versus Babita Punya, wherein all the women officers were eligible for permanent commission, allowing them in commanding roles. So women officers, for the first time after Indian independence, were at par with their male counterparts when it came to promotions, rank, benefits, and pensions. So thereby fortifying their position in defense, an institution with rigid gender norms. I would also like to quote Honorable Justice Chandrachud, and he also reaffirms my thinking that mindsets needs to be changed. So I will just read out what I have written. See, the court also underscored an inherently regressed mindset and summarized submissions made by the Ministry of Defense. The submissions advanced were fraught with sex stereotypes based on socially ascribed assumptions which discriminate against women, from restricting their roles to motherhood and domestic obligations to challenging their physiological vagaries based on anatomical, biological difference between men and women, have only furthered the role of women as the weaker sex, deeming them incapable of undertaking tasks which are perceived to be too arduous for them. So what becomes a mooting point is that citing such frivolous reasons in the social context of marriage and family do not constitute a constitutionally defendable basis for denying equal opportunity to women. The court remarked, please hear me now, If society holds strong beliefs about gender rules, that men are socially dominant, physically powerful, and the breadwinners of the family, and that women are weak and physically submissive and primarily caretakers confined to a domestic atmosphere, it is unlikely that there would be change in mindsets. And this was borne by the fact that the army had given this affidavit saying that women are weaker sex because of their maternal instincts. So, and the court also vehemently held that to cast aspersions on their abilities on the ground of gender is an affront not only to their dignity as women, but to the dignity of the members of the Indian Army, men and women, who serve as equal citizens in a common mission. So this was the landmark judgment which saw parity for women in the defense forces. It was, I mean, a day to be applauded. It was a day of empowerment to the women who led the country in the defense area. Apart from that, I would like to say, in politics, if you want to ask anything, you ask a man. But if you want anything done, you ask a woman. And I say this, do you know why I say this, doctors? Because I want to tell you all, inform you all, or remind you all that the All India Institute of Medical Sciences was founded by Rajkumari Amrit Kaur. She was the first health minister of independent India. She was a woman who was a part of the Constituent Assembly which drafted the constitution. She was one amongst the 15, and she founded the All India Institute of Medical Sciences, which is a premier institute in the world we look up for. She argued for autonomy. She was a woman who worked for women empowerment, for girl education. So this itself shows that women can lead, women can do wonders. In fact, there were about 7 prime ministers who led their country during the COVID time and saw that there were minimum liability. So what did it reflect? That reflected because 70% of the global Indian women, global women all over the world, there are 70% of them in healthcare and education. And although Angela Merkel is not a mother, she still had her maternal instincts in controlling COVID. So the world is privy to the fact that women-led countries curbed the virus. So men should learn. There are so many things that a man should learn from a woman. It's not saying that we should not learn from them also. We should learn from them and they should learn from us. There should be mutual respect, because ultimately even Ishvara is the Ardhanari Ishvara. He's half man and half women. So until and unless we try to respect both of them, I mean, nothing survives. We have to live in a world. If I tell you, I may not be a feminist, but I actively practice and fight for equality in laws for women. So this is the way I see it. And when we say Brigham Young, he said, when you educate a man, you educate a man. And when he says, you educate a woman, you educate a generation. So it goes to show that women, they are, if you educate her, it's the family which is educated, the village that is educated, a generation of it is educated. So education has to be a point of focus. It has to be seen. And every woman, she should at least know to stand up for what is right and what is wrong. I would also request all the women listening to me, please don't have a suppressed voice. Let that inner voice speak. And all of you should listen to it. Please, it is my humble request. When you want to speak, don't suppress another woman. Let her speak. When she stands up and she stands up and speaks for all the women who are unheard of. And apart from that, I would also like to take you through another very interesting judgment of the Supreme Court in Vinita Sharma versus Rakesh Sharma. This was also a path-breaking 3-judge bench judgment which held that sons and daughters have equal co-partnership rights in a Hindu undivided family. So it gave equal property rights. That first it was only the son who could inherit. But Vinita Sharma said, laid down the fact that a daughter also was equally entitled to her father's property and the family's undivided property. So apart from that, we also have this path-breaking judgment in sexual freedom. So the court affirmed the right of a woman in exercising her sexual freedom in personal sphere in Joseph Shine versus Union of India. It is a reported judgment in 2019, 3 SEC 39, wherein Honorable Justice Nariman, he's placed reliance on the right to privacy, which flows from Article 21, and declared it as unconstitutional. Section 497 of the Indian Penal Code gives the husband to prosecute his wife's lover, even as similar rights were not conferred on a wife to prosecute the woman with whom her husband had committed adultery. The then Chief Justice Deepak Mishra rightly observed that Section 497 treated a married woman as nothing more than a husband's property as adultery, and it is only as adultery is only an offense when it happened without the consent of the married man and women. And apart from that, I will also show this path-breaking judgment when it comes to sexual harassment at workplace. That is reported in Punjab and Sindh Bank versus Durgesh Kumar. The apex court, while deciding a transfer order of a woman bank employee who had alleged sexual harassment by a senior colleague, held that sexual harassment at work violates the woman's fundamental right to equality, their right to live with dignity and to practice any profession. The court held that sexual harassment was enacted to provide protection against sexual harassment of women at the workplace, as well as for prevention and redressal of such complaints. Even today, we have these two young activists, Disha Ravi and Nodeep Kaur, who stood up for the farmers' laws. They were put in jail, but still they emerged victorious. So women are speaking up. They are not only speaking up for gender issues, they are speaking up for other issues which concerns the nation. Then you have the Safura Zafar, who spent her entire period of pregnancy in jail because she protested against the CAA. We have so many human rights women who stand up and fight. And this is what I say to you. See, be the change you want to see. And I also want to tell you all that women, I want to see women grabbing the world by its lapels to achieve their true potential, and hence be brave to choose, to challenge. The path to change is never a linear one. It is a rather coarse, bruising most of us. But these are scars, and these scars which one needs to adorn like a badge of honor, honoring ourselves, fellow females, their struggles and their achievements alike. I would only like to tell you, I've had a big struggle. You may know my name, but you do not know my story. And I also want to end this talk by quoting G.D. Anderson, who remarked, "Feminism isn't about making women stronger. Women are already strong. It's about changing the world, the way the world perceives that strength." So on this note, I would like to say thank you and a very happy Women's Day to all of you. And I also wish to thank Professor Shantanu, the professor of law, who took off time from his busy schedule to invite me and deliver my speech. And I hope I have thrown some light and inspired you all to stand up and be the voice and be heard, and give a lending ear to all the undertrodden women, the women of the lower class who don't have a voice. You should empower them. You should bring out the thing in them. They have enough strength. Women are generally very bold. They are very strong. It's only the potential that you need to tap. You just have to give her a knock and say, "Come on, I'm with you." And then all the women in this country can move ahead. And I also want to say, Panchayat level, we have achieved 33%. But what about the parliament? Do we see 33% at the parliament? No. Our government should say, should change this concept. If they want to say that women should be empowered, it is just not making 0.1% of the women a second-time defense minister or first-time finance minister. We should have women. There must be ample representation of women in the parliament. There must be ample representation of women in the judiciary. On Friday, Justice Indu Malhotra will be retiring, so that leaves us only with one woman judge, Justice Indira Banerjee. So does this speak of women representation? Does this speak of empowerment? Are we considered equal? No. So please, doctors, friends, students, all of you wake up, listen to the inner voice and let that be heard. Even the other day, there was a virtual video which was going around on social media, and it was very painful. Why was it painful? Because it showed a traffic constable with her child in hand. She was posted at the traffic post where at 8 o'clock in the morning, and she was manning the police post with her child. So it only goes to show that women manage the home, they manage their office work, they manage whatever they are, because they have the grit and determination. They are mentally very strong and they can climb any extent. Literally, in the literal sense also, they have conquered Mount Everest, Bachendri Pal. So when we have achieved so much, it has to be recognized. Merely one day, International Women's Day, is not sufficient for that recognition. Every day needs to be celebrated. Every day there is a woman at your home, at your workplace, everywhere, who inspires you all, who stands up for you, who takes the blame game for you. So please encourage all those women, all those unheard voices. Thank you.
Thank you, madam, for that really inspiring and I would say a passionate argument that you had put forth about what is the true situation in our country, as you said. And in fact, you have quoted instances of lapses in the judiciary as well, where where you have come across patriarchal judges also passing judgments which are probably against women. And it was an eye-opener, madam, for us that when you had spoken to us about the landmark judgment that was passed favoring women in the army, and also you spoke not just about your field, also about the founder of AIMS, Dr. Rajkumari, who was a champion of women's rights. And as you rightly said, representation of women should not just be there in probably the in professions, but also in our parliament and in the judiciary as well, which you said, I think those are the places where we need to be equally, or if not equally, at least more than a third representation, so we can frame the laws and change laws so that we can achieve an egalitarian society, I think. And I'm sure you have come across so many cases where the victims or the victims were women, and how they have been going from, I would say, literally pillar to post to get their justice. Thank you so much, madam, for that very passionate and convincing talk to us. And I would like
Lakshmi, I just want to butt in, sorry. You know, it is not about this. You know, I, as a women lawyer, you know, we petitioned to the Supreme Court in the Supreme Court Women Lawyers Association case, which was a reported decision. We sought harsher punishment for child rapists. And the court asked me to approach the legislature. They said it was not in their domain to legislate laws. And that proposal was maybe in 2019 saw the light of the day when the POCSO Act was amended with death for sexual assault on a child thing. But they also forget that they're asking me to approach a man whose mindset I cannot change. So that is the reason why I say that there must be more women in all spheres of life in the forefront, and they should empathize. I'm not saying sympathize, I'm saying empathize with a woman and stand up for her. That is, and to be very honest with you, I'm very passionate about whatever I do. So yes, and I stand up for all those women. Thank you,
madam. Thank you. Thank you so much, madam. Dr. Shantanu, would you like to please
Thank
say
you.
something?
Thank you, Dr. Vijayalakshmi. And once again, I mean, happy Women's Day to each one of you present here. I, in my department, is in super minority because I have other 4 women surrounding, I mean, there in the department. So wishing all of them a very happy Women's Day, ma'am. I'll just take 30 seconds to summarize. I mean, I don't dare to speak anything when Miss Mahalakshmi ma'am has already spoken so much, but so with a lot of humility, I'll just pitch in with 2 things. I think it's the right time to move from equality to equity, because as equality as a constitutional value, the Constitution has already given us, but we hardly see equity being delivered. So that is one transformation which the society requires. And secondly, when we talk about the problem which persists, it's not an individual problem, it's a collective problem. So when we talk about atrocities on women, or when we talk about all the hardships that a woman takes on herself, it's not only something which is related to cruelty or domestic violence as one parameter, but it's surrounded with a lot of other issues which institutionally needs to be tackled. It's more or less with the mindset that needs to be changed within the society. Madam was talking about a lot of examples, and not only nation-wise. I think when we take UDHR as one of the most important document which binds all the nations, I think we have one representation. I mean, not one, we have more than that, but I mean, we need to definitely mention Miss Hansa Mehta, who has actually changed the proverb from all men are born free and equal to all human beings are born free and equal. So I think that transformation was was relevant in 1940s when the world came up with this courage of this world war, and then it is more relevant today when we see that so many years have passed after independence. And lastly, I'll just finish up with the Hindi proverb. I'm sorry, I don't know. I mean, how many of you will be able to?
We all know Hindi.
So it says, I was just browsing through one interview with a famous personality, and I found him quoting, which is very relevant today. He was saying that Nari kal bhi bhari thi, or Purush aaj bhi abhari hai. So I think it's since ages that we are always indebted to women in any form. So that's what I wanted to tell, ma'am. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to share the same platform amongst all of these doctors. I find myself the odd man out today, but however I wanted to, fit in. I don't know how far. Thank you, ma'am, for accepting our invitation. And
Doctor, thank you, but I want to chip in here, doctor. I don't think you heard me right. I said I'm not battling for gender equality. Yeah. I'm battling for gender justice and gender equity. So you have to get yourself right, because this was what I asked for. And secondly, Hansa Mehta, I also spoke about her because she's one of those 15 women who drafted the Indian Constitution.
Yes.
So there were women, there are women, there will be women.
Yes, ma'am.
And we need more women.
Yes, ma'am. There are provisions in the law, but we need to, execute those provisions in the right direction, as you rightly said, ma'am. Thank you very much, ma'am. And over to Dr. Vijayalakshmi.
Thank you so much, madam, in the midst of your busy schedule, that you could accept our invitation to address us. As you said, women, we doctors, we have been battling this pandemic this whole year, and every year we take it, our department, the Department of Obstetrics and Gynecology, we take this opportunity to spread awareness about women's health issues and conduct events. And this is the first year that we are actually having an address by an eminent personality such as you yourself addressing us. We are very thankful to you, madam, and thank you again. And I would like to thank Dr. Shantanu also for arranging to get you on board to give us this.
My pleasure, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. And I would like to thank all the listeners for listening in. And as I was telling, madam has passionately spoken about it. We will definitely, for those of the faculty who were are a bit busy, will see the recording of your speech, madam. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, doctor, for the opportunity. And I felt it a great privilege to be part among the demigods. Thank you.